So, here, let's see. Okay. Um, right now, I just want to go ahead and thank you guys for tuning in for something so last minute. Um, but this is something that I have been wanting to talk about for many years. So I do want to apologize in advance if things get a bit emotional. Um, and also, like, doing my best to make sure that I word everything to the best I can. I'm not doing this with any script. This is my thought process as of right now. Um, so bear with me if I get a little sidetracked, if I stutter, or if I repeat something. This is literally not planned out. This is what I've been feeling like I need to do forever. And I want to thank you all for being here at the moment, for being patient with me. Um, Whether you know me or not, um, yeah, this is the deal. Um, there will be plenty of stuff, plenty of topics that are uncomfortable. Um, so if that's not your kind of thing that you want to hear, I'm sorry, this is not the stream. And I usually start like very happy and all, but I don't think this is the time for it. But mm, I feel like after 5 to 6 years since everything, um, and with the timing of recent events, that this is now appropriate to talk about. So, as most of you have heard, a lot of information has recently opened up about JakeNeutron, about the things that he said about someone, um, in direct messages with KittenSneeze. Um, that is like very cruel and very inappropriate, and um, he made a response onto that specific screenshot being shared throughout all over Twitter. Um, and a lot of people, including myself, are not happy with that response at all. So, pretty much what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be starting from the very beginning uh, to when I first met these guys, and then go all the way to the present, to the last time that I've talked to them, and then giving my very own thoughts on those two personally. Now, before I talk about this, I, with all my heart, with all the respect that, let me rephrase that, with me, I guess, pleading in a way, do not go out to harass anybody that's mentioned. That's the last thing I need right now. I do not need any more tension in a way. I don't know if that's the right word, but don't don't go directly after these guys. Um, Despite what you're going to be hearing at this moment, I've taken a break for a few days from social media just to think about this, because this is a thing that I've been thinking about for a very long time, for years since. But I've taken a recent break, and I feel like it's time. So, excuse me. Let's go ahead and rewind all the way back to 2019. So, actually, long before that, nothing important. I was a fan of those two for a hot minute. I was a fan of their content, with their art, with their vines. Even for those that know Vine, that was the good stuff back then. Um, And I've been following KittenSneeze and JakeNeutron for a very long time. And I admired them a lot. So skipping all the way to 2019, I just went through an audition for a very big musical called Be More Chill at a community theater that I went through. And I met this person. Um, she says, "Hey, you're here for Be More Chill," and I said, "Yeah, me too." I said, "You're in the show as well," and I'm like, "Oh, cool." And so we started talking a little bit, and then I tilted my head for the moment, and I was like, "Hey, this is gonna sound weird, but I recognize your voice. Hear me out on this." And so I pull out my phone, I go through Instagram, I pull up the account, and I see the photo, and I look at her, did a double take, and I was like, "Are you Kid Sneeze?" And she's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Wow, no way! I'm actually like I'm actually like one of your big fans of your stuff." And she's like, "Really? Like that's really awesome." And so we clicked together at the very start. Um, we talked inside and outside of the rehearsals. Um, Immediately formed a strong friendship. Um, and then skipping all the way to the the nightly performances of the show. Um, One of those nights, Jake was there along with some other individuals that I sadly cannot remember, but I do not want to name them for safety reasons, um, and also with the 80% chance that I may or may not remember the names, so I will keep the others discreet. This night is when I met Jake Neutron for the first time ever. Kitten Sneeze introduced me to them, and there was a form of connection right away. We both talked in person, online, formed a very strong connection together, and we were all just having a great time. And we cut to a couple months later. I introduced my friends to those two. Those two introduced their friends to me. And so we got together for an Airbnb. Just a little fun hangout together here and there. Um, and we planned that out. We also went to theme parks together, and we all had a good time. From riding the rides, walking around the park. It was a wonderful time, and we had an Airbnb as well. I even had some TikToks recorded back then where I was interacting with some of the individuals that were once there, and it was bliss. It was like joyous days, like type of deal. um, but then afterwards, um, there was some tension that was starting to appear. Um, for the others, including myself, it felt like it just came out at a left field. Like it was just so out of nowhere. Immediately, Kitten Sneeze and Jake Neutron are like at each other's throats onto these private servers. Um, Suddenly calling each other out, and we're just like, whoa, okay, what is going on? And frankly, unfortunately, I cannot remember the context, but basically, it was something along the lines of, well, um, I was told by so and so that, I'm not welcome in this server, and, I don't want to make anyone else uncomfortable, this and that. And those two would just fight each other on that statement alone. Um, but of course, there's more. And again, I'm sorry for not being able to fully provide the context um, throughout all these years that I've suppressed a lot of the memories. So whether whether they appear or not as I talk about it, that really depends. Because again, a lot of the stuff was suppressed. It's gotten to the point where, for those that were there, you guys know what happened. For those that don't know what happened, KittenSneeze comes out um, and calls out Jake on all sorts of things. Now, on my description, I have my own documentary on KittenSneeze, but inside this documentary, if you go to page 6, I have the original copies of the documentaries that both JakeNeutron and KittenSneeze made on each other. And the biggest thing is that KittenSneeze called out Jake for the fact that he was grooming minors and was defending a rapist for the actions that he has done. It was accusing things of KittenSneeze about the stuff that they were alleged to have done from when they were a minor till then at the time. And then after she called them out on Instagram, Jake posted on Instagram that he is working on clarifying and clearing up possible misinformation and misconceptions on what KittenSneeze is doing. Now, being real, at that time, I believed KittenSneeze more. The reason for that is because the proof that she has listed onto the documentaries that she provided had a whole lot more stronger evidence, along with the fact that there's also multiple testimonies on Jake and parties involved. However, the same can be said for Jake's counter doc to KittenSneeze. Now, the biggest thing is that at the end of the day, I panicked and I believed KittenSneeze. I took her side because she was talking to me about this directly while Jake was in his own area trying to address the situation. And I felt bad because I did not give him a chance to explain on his side on what is going on and why is KittenSneeze saying the things that she is saying. But because I was panicking and I did not know what was going on, because it essentially felt like two parents having a big fight and are gonna have this crazy divorce. I felt like that child that's in that fight between those two parents, along with other individuals that were also on that call with KittenSneeze and myself, because she was talking about that. Now, she also mentioned to us that we don't have to side with her. We don't need to stick around. We don't need to be involved. However, yet a lot of us still felt, what's the word? I'm trying to think of the word. I can't think of the word, but like, we felt like we had to pick a side because those two were our greatest friends to have throughout recent times. And we just didn't know what to do. But yeah, obligated, thank you. We felt obligated to have to pick a side because the fact that a lot of us were in the middle of that big fight, I don't know about what the other individuals felt, but at least I felt that if I didn't say anything and people find out that I was secondhand involved in their fight, that I was going to get my shit rocked. So I felt obligated that I had to go to someone's corner. Um, so that happened. Later around 2020, like late 2020, uh, Kitten Sneeze, friends, and I planned another Airbnb. Now, while this is through the time period with COVID and things slowly clearing up, for the most part that I know, we were all vaccinated. I had my vaccines like first thing before like anything at all. For the most part, I knew that everyone else was vaccinated. Everyone was practicing safe health and cleanliness, including myself. So we all made sure to take precautions. Um, I know I said earlier that I'm not gonna mention some individuals. However, some of these people that I'm gonna mention, there's a reason for them. So the one biggest name is Logan. Um, so Logan was with us. Now, at the time, at that time, I did not know Logan's history. When we were at the Airbnb while he was out, Kitten Sneeze, everyone else, and I were talking to this girl, and we were like, "Hey, just so you know, Logan is with us, and I know that he's like done things that made you uncomfortable, and even like it's just like very unpleasant. I just want to let you know that he is with us, but um, yeah, that's what you needed to know and all that stuff." And I thought, hold on, what is Kitten Sneeze talking about? Um, and it's come to open up to us that Logan has groomed this girl who was, I believe, like 15 or 16 at that time, who was groomed by Logan. And that came off as a big shocker to me, along with everyone else that was in that Airbnb, because I did not know that. Nobody else but her knew that. And I don't remember if anybody like confronted her about it. But in my head, I was like, wait, if you know that this guy has groomed this person that we just talked to, why is he still with us? To which then brings the point of the screenshot that is being shared all over Twitter, where Jake has pretty much said that what Jake said to downplay the trauma that this other poor person has gone through. It is not the same person, but they are both victims of Logan. Um, and the message goes from Jake: "I feel gross in saying this, but all they got was fingered. But she wasn't used. Logan was. Her boundaries were pushed once. His were pushed all the time. This isn't a contest of who hurt who worse, but from an outside looking in, this person is the monster in this situation." Um, and they get to that, and then the next no, we're not ending to that. Anyway, that's all the rambling I'm gonna do on this. I'm just emotional. Sorry I like spammed your phone. I just know that if this were to somehow ever come up, it'd be hard to fight for the truth. I don't know. I don't think it will happen. That's just me being paranoid. I can't imagine this person wanting to. Yeah, that also scares me. that I don't know these people and their level of judgment. I'm afraid of them somehow hyping her into something drastic, but at the same time, I don't see this person letting them cause that drastic thing would take a lot of effort. I know she's been too lazy or anxious to do in the past. KittenSneeze responds with, yeah, and I doubt she wants this to be public. Jake responds with, I just hate that if she were to do this, it will be stuck to our careers forever. The worst part is that I have seen that screenshot in person. So I can tell you that is not fabricated. That is not edited in any way other than the censorship on the name. That screenshot is 100% real. It is 100% true. Now, the thing that gets me with that screenshot alone, first, Jake villainized this person. No, yeah, Jake villainized this person and was highly defending Logan. He was defending that shit. That he was saying that he was the victim, not this other person that he raped. But just out of nowhere, they said that he said that the two talked about it, but I could confirm that because I've seen it change with my own very eyes. That out of fucking nowhere, he villainized Logan and suddenly had the corner of this victim. And KittenSneeze took his spot to where she's behind Logan. And she didn't demonize this victim, but she wasn't there for them anymore. Why? I have no fucking clue. And through the date that was listed in that screenshot, I can't remember if this was... No, this was after. Yes. No. This was before we had that second Airbnb with Logan. And that shit was kept hidden from me and from the majority of people that were in that Airbnb. I have never felt so fucking disgusted being in the presence of Logan. Because I thought he was a cool dude. He was funny. He was very a very good guy to talk to. At least I thought, until I learned that he did that shit and even has a confirmed criminal record in Florida. So I just didn't know what the fuck to do with that information. Cause now that painted her as the dipshit. And it was just confusing. Of course she made it clear afterwards, after the Airbnb, that we are never talking to Logan ever again. Nobody. Because there was one other person that was also affected by Logan, and I will mention them later. And then fast forward to that, I heard nothing from Jake since then, since I pushed myself away from him. And I stuck around with KittenSneeze for a hot minute. Throughout the times, we had our own private server with our group. And we would talk a lot, almost every night there. We will have hangouts, we will have game nights, movie nights, and do stupid shit like read very shitty fan fictions, I don't know, all that kind of stuff. There is a vague time throughout 2021. I cannot remember the date specifically, unfortunately, but I do remember the moment that happened. That KittenSneeze's significant other at the time. So I do not know what her relationship status is, and that frankly that's none of my business. That's not my concern. But in that server, There were mostly adults, and there were about two or three minors. And there was some talks privately with all of the adults saying that um, we want our own like adult space, that we want to have like an NSFW channel and blah 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 blah, this kind of stuff. I was opposed to it. Um, there was a few that agreed to adding an NSFW space, while the other half, including myself, did not like that idea because of the fact that there were minors in that server. I brought up the idea that we should have a completely separate server away from the minors, so that way we can have our own adult space. And I cannot specifically remember if it was her or someone else that came up with this compromise that said there will be roles that only the adults of the group will have access to, and with that role, we only have access to certain channels. Nobody else does. And me and this other individual were trying to tell them that that's not really gonna work because it's gonna be questioned. They're gonna ask questions about it, and it's gonna be awkward. It's weird because you are having a not safe for work channel in a group that consisted about like one or two minors, while the rest are adults. Like that's just weird. They went ahead and did it anyway. And at one point, KittenSneeze's significant other at the time drew Cuphead pornography. Not of King Dice, not of the devil himself. They drew Cuphead with his penis out and all that. Now, I do not have a way to prove this other than word. And for those that were there, if they reached out to me about it, it would confirm it. Then that's all that I can give. Besides one person from there that I still talk to this day that can confirm that that's what happened. Because we were all there when it happened. Now, her significant other at the time drops a drawing of Cuphead with his penis out, and all of us were like, hey, what are you doing? Why are you drawing Cuphead pornography? And they went ahead and tried to defend that by saying that Cuphead does not have an official age. Therefore, there's nothing wrong. But we told them that that's not a valid excuse. Cuphead is very childlike. Cuphead has a lot of traits that portrays him as a child. Oh, but he drinks alcohol and he gets drunk. Okay. That doesn't mean anything because that's cartoon logic. They do all that kinds of stuff with every kind of character with cartoons. Drawing pornography of a child-coded character does not that's not right. That's not right at all. And so here comes KittenSneeze jumping in to try to de-escalate. At first, defending their partner at the time, but of course came to the middle of like, hey, this isn't cool. And what's going to happen is from now on, there's going to be a very strict rule on this kind of deal. We're not doing these kinds of drawings anymore. So check your sources before you draw not safe for work content of characters. But I said that's not enough. This is why I specifically stress that we do not have an adult space in that group server. Like they needed to be another space for just the adults. And our warnings were not heeded until that. And I said that's going to create a problem. And eventually it went through. And as time would pass on, every now and then, KittenSneeze and Jake would either vaguely post about each other on Twitter, or just like blow the hell up out of nowhere. So the prime example on that is if I go through here. Sorry, I'm like a little bit dehydrated at the moment. I've been exhausted for the past 2 weeks, so forgive me. Let's see. So we're gonna skip all the way to 2021. Now I have to date to this, and I have screenshots of this on my documentary. November 19th, 2021. KittenSneeze uploads a thread. And it goes on as such. Sorry. Oh, man. Dude, looking back through all this shit. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. It's not fun. But I know I gotta get this out. So, November 19th, 2021. KittenSneeze posted this on her Twitter. This thread will be to address various people affected by me and acknowledge my past abuse and racist behavior. Please stop to read. To Jake, I shouldn't have tried to weaponize your mistakes to avoid accountability for mine. I abused you for years when we were friends, and you stuck by me hoping for change. I failed that. I traumatized and hurt you so badly, and that is nobody's fault but mine. Next part. I've hurt you countless times and tried to act like what you'd done somehow canceled out my wrongdoings. You didn't deserve that or to be subject to harassment from my audience. You may have made mistakes, but I used my platform to attack you for it relentlessly. Alright, I will stop reading the threads for the moment. Now, for whatever KittenSneeze has said throughout this thread, I will add my own pointers to it, but that's after I go through the timeline of my first and last interactions with these people. Continuing, calling you a groomer was mislabeling what you had truly done. Even though I don't condone or approve of what was done, you have apologized for it, and I believe you've changed. So trying to weaponize an accusation like that would just be deflection. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that hurt and pain and damage to you and your friend group. You deserved a better friend, a non-abusive one. This doesn't even begin to touch on the shitty, edgy, racist, and edgy remarks I made over the course of years that was disgusting to ever subject you to. Continuing. I use slurs as what I perceive to be jokes, and I drew anti-Semitic art. What I did was undeniably racist, and I am sorry. Making shit like that seems normal or funny is exactly why minorities have to deal with anti-blackness or anti-Semitism. My contribution to that is fucked up. Continuing. Where did it go? Okay, there it is. Continuing. I will be doing everything within my power to educate myself and make up for the shit I fucked up on over the course of years. Racist jokes are unacceptable. Racist behavior is unacceptable. Trivializing something like the Holocaust and Nazis is unacceptable. Those are not jokes. Continuing. This doesn't begin to address people who I owe individual apologies to for my actions. Now, I used to have the original screenshots uncensored. I don't have those anymore, so what you see is what you get. And even if I do recover those old screenshots of the uncensored names, I'm not posting them. If you were there, you were there. If you were not, sorry, but I'm not gonna do that. So this is where KittenSneeze starts giving direct apologies to the certain people, and she goes off to saying, "Hey, so I'm sorry for doing this to you, for making my actions as if it was your thing, type of deal, um, silencing you about your abuse, calling you out on the things that you shouldn't have been called out. Um, I do not expect forgiveness. This is years of fuck ups, and disgusting behavior, laying out and deserves to be held accountable for it. Um, saying to leave the victims alone, that they do not deserve to be attacked. It's a long overdue apology." Um, and after the thread ended, um, everyone else that was mentioned in that thread, including Jake, um, were just absolutely bombing at her and saying things like, "I like fuck you, KittenSneeze. I hate you for this. I hate you for that." Um, and on Jake's counter dog, there are screenshots of the people that were affected, um, saying, "Hey, go fuck yourself because you did this and you don't deserve to be forgiven and everything." And beforehand, that's also is also where it comes to play of the victim um, now being supported by Jake, to where they did talk it out, and Jake realized that he was manipulated to believe Logan, and um, and yeah, quickly realized that Logan was in the wrong this whole time. Um, to where at one point this other individual was saying that the rape victim was a liar, um, calling her a whore for cheating on her boyfriend, um, saying that she's a sick, twisted roach for lying about rape to cover up cheating, um, calling out other individuals for saying that they were in the wrong for believing someone that's lying, um, and then just using slurs that they could not reclaim at all whatsoever. But then, um, from that all the way to when KittenSneeze uploaded her apology, she reconnected with Jake and then started throwing KittenSneeze into the fire. But like I said, everything is right there. All of the talks that happened in the past, I linked them inside my documentary, so that way people, if you want to look at them, do what you want to do. I don't care. And if not through me, there are a whole bunch of people on Twitter that are uploading those documentaries as well. So after that, well, I messaged her saying, "Hey," I messaged her on January 19th, 2022. Hold on. So, yeah, it's a much deeper dive than what's simply be given. I approached KittenSneeze on January 19th, 2022, saying, "Hey, so real quick, I know you got a lot on your plate, but I've received like at least one DM from people in your server about how they noticed that you posted the apology only on Twitter and not on the rest of your platforms, and one of them even at like quote unquote advised to screenshot the tweets and to elaborate more as a way for people to take you more seriously about the thread. I know it's a lot, but I also think it should be known on more than just Twitter. I don't know. I haven't been eyeing on social media these days. Now, keep in mind, at the time, Twitter was the smallest platform that she had. Now, she, of course, has a huge platform here on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, whichever ones that I did not list. She has a big platform. Twitter was the smallest. And she posted her apology just on Twitter. And I was like, hey, this is really not a good idea. You should post on your larger platforms. Because throughout my time on being a mod in her server, my DMs have been getting flooded every fucking day. If not every day, every few days. If not every few days, pretty much weekly. I get nonstop DMs from like people in the community or people that are like not a fan of her. And they're like, hey, what is up with her not addressing the situation on the other platforms? What is up with her about her Nazi allegations? What is up with this? What is up with when she said this? And I was just stumped and stressed throughout that whole stuff. That I dead ass was just like, from what I can tell, she addressed it. I cannot make any promises because I'm not her. So I this is out of my hands. To which it made me feel guilty by association, which I will go more on in a bit. So I told her about, hey, you should probably address your apology thread that you made for Jake and the other individuals that were listed on your other platforms. And she says, yeah, I get that. I addressed it mainly on Twitter because that was where the huge chunk of the drama unfolded, and I have a post addressing it on my Instagram as well. I will feel highly irresponsible name dropping and taking something sensitive like that to my platform with a huge following, mainly because it would definitely hurt myself and others. Also because while I do mean my apology and own up to my wrongdoings, people viewed it as a, oh, so you're a liar and responsible for everything, which isn't at all the truth. Taking responsibility for things I feel I should apologize for, whether it was intentional or was just from hurting someone's feelings, is something I want to do for my own maturity's sake. It's not meant to clear names, as everything I came forward about is still 100% true, no matter which way anybody want to look at it. I just conceded that the general public doesn't care about it, doesn't care about what I have to say, or just want one person to blame for everything because it's easy to do that. But the situation is over with. Jake and his friends returned to all their socials and are fine. I'm stable enough to post on my own again. And it feels like a situation has finally been addressed, even if the end result isn't with my truth 100% out there, but I'm okay with that. So I would just say I have addressed it on my other platforms in the past, but the situation is over with, and everyone else involved is moving on from it. I'm not gonna make it gain more traction or reopen something very dramatic, and if they can respect the wishes of wanting to move forward, that'd be great, because I don't want to address or talk about it anymore for my mental health's sake, because it messes my own personal trauma as well, and I finally come to terms about with being okay with not being believed. I appreciate the concern about it, about the topic though, but it's safest for every party involved to just move on and learn from it. Um, yeah. And so, yeah, throughout time and time, I was modding in her server, and I was one of the only like full time like active mod in her Discord server that I don't know if she still has, but I was de-escalating every single situation that came up. I was getting messages and answering questions, most that I did or did not have the answers to. I was pretty much like her fucking server manager, um, in a way. And I did not feel appreciated at all because I was doing pretty much a majority of the work in that server alone. Um, and I'm sure the other mods have had their own reasons as to why they couldn't be active all the time, which is, that's totally fine. Everyone has their own stuff to do in their own personal life, and not everyone can be active in a server full of like thousands of people all at once. But I still felt like I was the only one putting in all of the effort. Um, yeah, that's like that whole thing was just a fucking mess, dude. Like I was just exhausted. Um, and she was just barely active in her own server. Um, and I wanted to bring up everything to her, but I did not know her schedule because she said that she would be busy all the time. And so I'm just like, okay, well, what am I gonna do? And the last interaction that I've had with KittenSneeze was when I went to commission her for an animation type of deal. And we came to like a text agreement on the commission. I had multiple characters that I wanted to be animated, and she came up with a price. And we came into an agreement on it. But the kicker is that with her commissions, regularly she's supposed to fill out a contract on like the terms of service, to like payment plans, this and that. I would go more into details on that in a little bit. Which in continuation to like the servers, um, it was also just to the freaking point where like there was a raid in the server, and like me and one other mod were the only people that were like trying to like get everything to chill the hell out. And yeah, it was just like a whole raid, and I was just exhausted because I was it was me and one other person trying to. It was either one or two other people with me. They were trying to control the situation because they were setting gore and like strobes and everything. Um, and it was just a fucking mess, and she didn't um show up or speak on it until like afterwards. Um, and then there was at one point on around, funny enough, almost exactly 4 years ago, somebody pulled out live firearms on a VC in the public server. I was told about that. I did not get told what was going on, to the point where they pulled out the live firearms on video call. And I was already having a shit day. And so I came in a little bit heated. I was like, hey, you need to put those fucking guns away. Like, that's not cool, dude. Like, I got complaints that you're making people uncomfortable, showing your firearms. Because, it's... You just don't do that shit. And so I left, and another one of the other mods was like reporting that like that person that I called out was like talking shit about me, and then went on about how the server is like, oh, you guys are a bunch of soft liberals, blah 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 blah. And we're just like, okay, that's odd, because you're in a server full of pretty much a whole queer audience, and you're saying that shit. All right. Like, I was just already not like happy. I was not in the headspace to like deal with it, but like I was reached out to. I'm like, oh my fucking god, I gotta do this. Um, yeah, I did a lot. I did a lot in that server. Um, and then I stepped down from modding uh the 21st of July. Um, where I pretty much told her that I not only did I not want to mod anymore, but I did not want to be in the server anymore. And it was also just the fact that the person that I had a relationship with at the time, um, when we had our breakup, um, tensions were immediately high, and we would constantly like fight each other, and I just did not want to be around that. Um, Not only did I step away from the server, but I also stepped away from the group server as well, because he was there as well, because I was the one that introduced him shit to him. Um, and I was just unhappy because I did not want to be there with him being around. And she was like, "Yeah, well, I mean, you guys are both my friends, and I'll try to talk about it and see what's going on, because this whole stuff is not cool. Um, so I'm sorry this all happened, this and that, but like, I'm here for you, yada yada yada." Um, but yeah, it was just, ugh, it was a fucking mess. And then sometime in, I believe it was October, November, it was around near the end of 2022. It was the last time I talked to her, um, where I uh, decided that I wanted to cancel the commissions that I had with her, because I did not have proper finances to complete the payments, um, and I was already in a hard place. Um, and I needed the money because I was moving away from where I used to live, um, just to get a better location. Now, earlier to mention about contracting, she mentioned that once I came to the agreement with her about this very expensive commission, which was $1,500 at minimum, um, that I could not ask for a refund and everything. Now, keep in mind, we did not form a contract. There was nothing signed. What she did is take a thing of text as a form of contract. She took that as a form of agreement that once payments are being made and once a given yes is confirmed, then there's no going back. And I thought that was kind of BS. Um, because there's also nothing about animation commissions that cannot be, messed with. Not only that, but she told me that I needed to pay at least $1,000 for the work to even be started to begin with. And the thing about this commission that was not done, not even begun to begin with, is that it was supposed to be a 90-second animation, and it featured multiple characters within a song in a background. Very, simple animation thing, which is a very expensive, commission, but obviously there's a reason why it's expensive. Now, in her old terms of service, it said that there will be no refunds once I begin working. I'll only begin work on a piece once it is 100% paid in full. Now, you know how I said there were payment plans being made? Yeah, that means I was not done paying entirely for the commission. I did not even pay the minimum for her to begin work because I did not have the funds entirely for it because I was struggling due to my personal situation. So I thought it was just odd that in the text that she said that payment plans will initiate that there were no refunds to be made, but it was never officiated in her terms of service. So that's a breach of contract in a way, but it's not really a contract because there was never one to begin with. It was only a talk of text. And I mentioned it to her, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to have to cancel the commission because I'm in a very tight spot. But what about your payment policy? Because it says once the work begins that the refunds will be allowed. But the work doesn't begin until it's 100% paid in full. And she says that she has a different policy for commissions since usually commissions don't require payment plans, which is why it's brought up to me initially to agree with before it was begun because it was a large sum of money. It's at least $1,000. And then I asked her, why is it not written down? Why is it not public? Why is it not officially set in your terms of service? And she tells me, in her words, because I'm reading this from a screenshot that I have on my documentary, she says in her own words, and quote, I usually have a contract that I send to clients to agree upon so I can have a digital signature, but you are my friend, so I just trusted all I had to do was explain that I need payment 100% upfront before the final product starts and that I can't refund payment plans once they begin as a security measure for me so I'm not suddenly outed of hundreds of dollars. I didn't think a contract would be fully necessary because I trust you. Art commissions on my website work a bit differently because refunding $40 is not as severe as refunding $400, if that makes sense. End of quote. And that just irritated me. Because already, throughout that point, I did not want to be around her. Even before the talk with canceling my commissions, I did not want to be around her anymore because I could not take it anymore of people inside and outside of her community constantly harassing me about her allegations, about her past, about this, about that, about what's going on with Jake, what's going on with these people, and I was just sick of it. I was sick of it. I wanted to disappear from the internet entirely because I could not handle everything bombarding me all at once. Throughout that time, from when I distanced myself from Jake to then me distancing myself from KittenSneeze, I have been questioning every single fucking thing that she has said and done since they both split. Now, the thing about that is both of them, they are correct and they are incorrect about each other at the same time. The problem with that for me is that because I was in the middle, because I was so close to the two of them, I did not know who to believe. I was terrified on who to go for. Not only then, but also through the point where I was distancing myself away from KittenSneeze, and I did not want to associate with her anymore. And then we'll time skip to last year. I reached out to Jake. I said, hey, I know it's been a hot minute. I know we haven't talked to each other in a very long time, but I want to talk. I want to get things straight. And so we talked. Um the thing that I had with Jake at one point at one point um Jake and I were like kind of close in a way, to the point where he had romantic interest in me, and I had a small uh, mutual agreement to that, but I wasn't verbal about that. Um, and the thing about it is that when we went through our first Airbnb, and when we had our public trips to like the amusement parks and all that, he would be flirting with me here and there, and I would get flustered because I'm not used to people being upfront, or just like flirting in general, and I did not know what to feel. And he was like, "Hey, am I making you uncomfortable?" And I was like, "No, no, it's fine. Like I just didn't know how to react." And you know, it's I was both confused and uncomfortable at the same time, because throughout before I had my interactions with Jake in that more serious manner, I've had some un unfortunate relationships, and I was still recovering through one breakup, and I was just um unable to properly process um through the grief. And having that, um it was just very conflicting for me. Um and I will go more on about that um later. Right now, I'm gonna refocus the topic into when we reconnected, which was actually 2 years ago. I said, "Hey Jake, I know it has been a long time since we talked. I did not expect to reach out to you 4 years later, but here I am. First, how have you been? I'm sorry I didn't hear you out when the whole thing with Robin went down. She tricked me into believing her words, and I should have listened to you too, and I hated choosing sides. You were both my best friends. I wanted to give you closure because how I sended you off was not fair on you. I've been hearing more about what she did or said about you, and it hurts me knowing I could have stopped it. You don't have to respond or accept my apology, but I do want you to hear me out. If you don't want to reconnect, I understand and I will respect it. I hope I can show you that I've changed myself for the better and that we can fix our friendship. If you are okay with it at some point, I would like to talk with you one on one to discuss this and clear things out in the air." Um, a day later, 2 days later, he says, he reaches out and says, "Oh, wow. I was not expecting a message like this. I'm glad you reached back out. A lot of things have been happening and healing the last year, actually. I'm down to talk sometimes. There were a lot of things back then that hurt and confused me, but to be honest, I'm mostly past most of it. Hell, me and Robin reconnected in October and talked through a ton of stuff and pretty much been talking since, not gonna lie. But yeah, down to talk sometime. This week I'm hyper focused on making sure MomoCon's all prepped and ready, since it's gonna be an ambitious one this year. After that, I'll be free for any discussion." And I was like, yeah, that's the thing. I also wanted to talk to you about Robin, since we both don't click anymore. But when you're free after MomoCon, I do want to talk again. Um, and he was like, "Okay, gotcha. I heard a bit about that, but it did not involve me, and half of that is your story to tell, I feel." Um, and then we reconnected. We talk to each other on Discord for about, God, what was it? Let me see. Sorry, this is a lot. Um, for those that are just now tuning in, I'm pretty much going on about everything that I've went through with both Jake Neutron and KittenSneeze. Um, since everything's going crazy on Twitter, and I felt that's finally the right time for me to talk about what I went through with those two. Um, I've covered a good amount from the beginning, and I'm coming up right to the present. Okay. For some reason, I could not find the log of when we called. There is. Um, we called for 3 hours one night, and I was pretty much pouring out all of my heart and soul about everything, everything that I've gone through since I distanced myself from him, since I um, stuck with KittenSneeze throughout the time period that I no longer talk to him. I've told them from, since the situation happened with the split to everything that went on in the server to the whole thing with the contract, which, oh yeah, jumping back on that real quick. Um, so out of the 1,500 that was supposed to be made for the payment of the commission, I only paid her $420. And that was when I had to cancel it because I was going through a lot and I needed money. Um, she only gave me back $100. And as I stated before, there was nothing in her policy that mentioned anything about animation commissions um, at that time period. She only, as it was only when I talked to her that she stated that there's a whole different policy with the payment plans and with very expensive commissions, but it was never, ever, ever put out in public fine print until I talked to her about it. Um, that's for whoever wants to decide on who's in the right or wrong. That I don't. That's fine. But at the end of the day, there was no official contract, and there was no policy to follow that was publicly printed. I should not have to have reached out to her about that to the point where she felt that she had to explain herself that there was something else different entirely to her terms of service. That should have been directly on the page in bold, fine lettering. I should not have had to have her talk about it afterwards. But that's what happened. The messages are there on my documentary, including my history on the payment plans. But yeah, I poured out my heart and soul, even broke down a little bit um, about how much she has affected me. And he understood the pain that I felt. Um, I still never understood why they reconnected. because he told me about how they reconnected. There's even the post is still up there on the talk of the fact that both KittenSneeze and JakeNeutron have reconnected to each other. And it just doesn't make any sense, because you're telling me that you get accused of being a groomer and all kinds of these fucked up shit, and then you go ahead and be friends with this person that has said so much negativity about your name and said all these kinds of buzzwords. That did not make sense to me at all. Because if I had someone accuse me something so strongly to the point where it would affect me personally, it will affect my friends and family to the point where I would get doxxed, death threats, you name it. The crazy fucking thing that people on social media do nowadays on things that are either true or false. I would not forgive the person that made the accusation. I would never want to talk to that person that made the accusation ever again, especially if it's something big. But they did anyway. Whatever. But I told him on that call, I specifically verbally warned him that people will question this. People will look back at the fight in that time. People will find out. People will find these documentaries and bring it back to light. That's fine that you two have finally moved on, but not everyone else. Especially to those that don't know, and then they find all this stuff that was just swept under the rug. So, yeah, that's the recent time that I talked with Jake, and then seeing that screenshot blow up where he said that whole fucked up shit about the victim. That was when I just I could not take it anymore, as I said a couple of days ago on Twitter before I took a small break from social media. Now, I'm going to put my own personal thoughts finally on these two, because I've known these guys for about like almost 2 years from when I first met them. And frankly, I am very disappointed on these two, because I thought that these two were great people. They are undeniably, they are very talented artists. They have such high passion for their projects. I was even happy to be involved in the Konayo loading Among Us animation that KittenSneeze featured me in. I even had the privilege to watch her work on it as time went on. I even have one of the work in progress videos of the animation. It was just amazing. But I'm just frankly disappointed, because the things that those two said about each other, most of it is true. With KittenSneeze doing Nazi art of her character, not only that, but to this other individual who I will not mention by name, but we'll talk about them in a little bit. She did Nazi art of both of them. While it is true that she was told to believe that that stuff was okay and that it was normal, it was not an excuse. And it doesn't help that she also admitted that she was a Hellsing fan, which had Nazis. That's the main thing about Hellsing, is that it is about Nazis. That's on her entirely. And that's really not an excuse for creating such vulgarity with a pen. The thing about Jake being a groomer, I will say that it is true. I have seen the screenshots um that KittenSneeze that showed me, and there it's now resurfacing on social media where he drew on paper of her persona like having sex with one or two other people frequently. Frequently. He made that okay. He would often tell KittenSneeze that that the drawings that he was going to do are all safe for work, that they're wholesome, that they're pretty cool stuff. And then just out of fucking nowhere, bam! It's sex. It's teenagers having sex on paper, and it's just like it's just like, what the fuck. Um, and the worst part about that is that she's not the only one. She's not the only one that has had art made of their character, of like their persona, or slash themselves, drawn in a pornographic manner without permission. And part of me wishes that I was able to have this as proof, but I don't, because throughout the time that it was shown to me, it was when my Instagram account got hacked. So anything throughout that time period, I don't have access anymore to. Not only was she drawn in a pornographic manner without her permission, and she was a minor at that time, he also drew the both of us in that manner without my permission. And the thing is that, sure, he did not disclose that it was the two of us, but it was dead fucking obvious on the implication. The curls of the hair, the facial structure, the eyes, the body type. It was dead obvious on how those two guys were supposed to be. And that was me and him. He did not ask me if that was okay. I just thought, oh wow, that's gay men right there. Awesome. And then I looked more at it, and I was like, wait, that's the hairstyle that I had at the time, and that's similar structures that I got. Okay, well, the other person. Okay, this person has this hair texture, hair color, the length. Oh wow, that's the two of us getting it on. I did not know how to react to that, and to this day, I still feel absolutely disgusting. The fact that happened. And I did not know what to say about it. I did not know what to do about it. But now, unfortunately, I have no access to that because, again, my Instagram got hacked throughout that year, and that message was from before then, and I don't have access to it anymore. So, as I stated in the beginning of this talk, not everything will have solid proof, so take it all with a grain of salt. Whether you believe me or not, that is fine. That's not important to me, whether I am see as like being truthful or not. I know what happened. I can speak for myself on what has been said to me, what has been done to me, and vice versa. But that thing that KittenSneeze had said about him being a groomer, and just drawing pornography of people and or their personas without their permission, I can I can vouch for that because it's also happened to me. Um, However, KittenSneeze is not in the clear, and the questions that could be formed out there is, hey, so if you had more of this dirt on KittenSneeze than Jake, why did it take you a long time to talk about this? And the main reason for that is because I was scared of her. Because, as she stated in her apology thread to Jake, she has used her own platform to attack people. Jake is not the only victim of that. There was one person that used to be a fan of KittenSneeze who I have reached out to about because they have talked about it vaguely on Twitter, and I had a feeling on who this person was because I shared it on my Instagram story as well. I have talked about it to this person, and I held myself accountable because I encouraged KittenSneeze's behavior to call out this person who, it's this is something that should not have been a big deal, and I still feel terrible for encouraging KittenSneeze's behavior that was very inappropriate. Um, but they understood that that was my mistake, and that they forgave me for it, and I'm very grateful for them to forgive me for it because I didn't feel like I should be forgiven because of my association. So this other person that I will not name, especially even though their Instagram at that time is no longer active, due to the harassment that they have received from Kenzie's community. Basically, around the 29th of August in 2019, she made a call out post against this user for stealing her character design or stealing her character in general. The comparison that KittenSneeze made was the patterning on the character. With the harassment that was encouraged, with not only her and I calling out this person publicly, but the rest of the fan base chewing this person out, they pretty much forced themselves to get offline, no traces or anything, for years. And now keep in mind, when I talked to this person a couple years ago, they were not aware that I also encouraged this behavior, but we came to an understanding, and they also encouraged me to talk about this. And whether you are watching it or not, I want to thank you for taking your time to talk to me about that, and I just want to say I'm very proud of you for being so brave to talk about this again. Because holy shit, you did not deserve that at all. You were just a kid. It doesn't help that Robin was also like about almost 18 around that time as well. The thing that she was fed up about with this person was the patterning, and she acted like the ahoge or the ahogue, the accessories and the color palette and the fur patterns are hers 100% originally. It is not. You cannot trademark that shit. That is childish. That is beyond stupidity. And like I said, although they were 17, 18 at that time, that's not an excuse. That is not an excuse. And so Um, the summary of a way with that situation is that Robin tried to tell this person, "Hey, um, please redesign your character entirely, and I will take out my call out post." And the person in response says, "I will agree on just the paws and arms. I'm not changing anything else." And they said that you do not own the Aho, you do not own droopy ears. Um, and Robin's like, "Well, that's not enough. The markings are the same. The pattern, the hair is the same. Um, you are tracing me clearly, and you are heavily copying me, and I can't believe that you are, trying to play the victim so you don't have to change your design." And the person's like, "Well, I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to reference anything from you. I don't want to keep up with this talk." And so Robin went ahead and sent her little army to attack this person. Um, it was at the point to where when they went offline, they almost committed suicide. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, they still are here, and I've talked to them a couple years ago, and we worked it out. Um, the I just find it interesting that Robin knew that Logan has not only raped her friend, but also groomed this person that we talked to. They'll say, "Hey, we're hanging out with the person that groomed you, yikers." Um, and as I mentioned earlier, I did not know that he did that. Everyone else did not know that he did that, except for one person. Now, this name, whether you know it or not, um, it'll be right there, and it'll answer to a lot of people's questions that were not answered. Hey guys, do you remember Gemtrovert? He is also an artist that has worked closely with KittenSneeze. Now, you may be wondering, where the hell is he? It has been about 3 years since his last post on YouTube and like any other social media platform. It has been since, well, almost 4 years really. It has been since the 31st of July 2022 when Gemtrovert has last been active online. Where is he? I'll tell you what happened to him. He has been caught by Robin talking to a 17-year-old, making a lot of sexual remarks, a lot of very nasty, inappropriate talks to the 17-year-old while he is a grown adult. And so she pretty much gave him two choices. Either he gets off the internet entirely, no traces, no nothing, nobody will know he existed anymore, or this will be in public. And so he disappeared from the internet forever. But you know what? That latter doesn't matter, because I used to be good friends with Gentriford as well, until he decided to talk about me behind my back to one of my best friends, because I had feelings for him at the time, and he decided to make fun of me behind my back, just pretty much straight up insulting me, and even did it to my face about how he was happy that he rejected me, and he was just straight up disrespectful. And I did not take that to appreciation. So, Gem, even though you're not here, even though you're doing God knows what, you fucked around, you found out, my man. Like, don't, no. You can't fucking preach about holding pedophiles accountable. You cannot fucking preach about people that are grooming minors being absolutely disgusting fiends. And then here you fucking are, doing the exact same fucking thing that you preached against. You fucking hypocrite. I am glad you are no longer online, because Jesus, if you were still here, active on the internet to this day, I would have chewed your ass out. Because how could you? I trusted you to the point that I wanted to open up to you. And you disrespected me. You also knew about Logan. And you also kept that hidden. You knew what he did. You knew about his criminal records, while everyone else was kept in the dark until one random phone call. You are just as guilty as KittenSneeze. It's lying to our faces like that. And yet, you were also uncomfortable with him being around us. And around you. And you had the nerve to demonize him only for you to join his action into talking to teenagers in such a disgusting manner. You fucking make me sick, dude. As someone that has been groomed as a kid, and as someone who has been taken advantage in a sexual manner without my consent, that was the biggest spit, punch, slap, whatever vocabulary you want to find, to my face. Because what the hell do you mean that you knew? That's not cool. That's absolutely not cool. So, yeah, if you were curious as to where that man is 4 years later, there's your answer. Because if she wasn't going to give it, I will. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know where else to go off from. Because I don't think this is even everything about what I have gone through and what I have witnessed. But like I said, those old documentaries that I have listed in my documentary, everything there for you is for to read. I will rephrase that because obviously that did not make sense, but you know, emotions happen. I've been holding this shit for way too long because I was scared of everyone coming after me. But I'm tired of hiding. You want to see the rest of the information that those two have been sweeping under the fucking rug since 2020? There it is. It is absolutely fucking hypocritical that those two were able to reconnect each other without any issues, despite those strong accusations being tossed at to each other. Despite the fact that there's hard evidence of those two being for and against this guy that raped his poor girl. But yeah, if you ever read up on KittenSneeze's documentary where it has all the testimonies with all these code names, you're looking at Sly. I was the anonymous person that talked about when I was there, when the whole fight went down, and when I was being thrown flirtatious remarks by Jake without you know. And part of me blames myself because I did not set my boundary to him, that I was directly uncomfortable with the flirtatious remarks, especially with the fact that he made the drawing of the two of us without my consent. But whenever you go through some shit as a whenever you go through some shit as a 14, 15-year-old in such a short span of time, that shit sticks to you forever. That cannot go away. I cannot forget. As much as I want to, I can't. It sticks onto me like a fucking leech taking away my blood. And that affects me throughout the whole future and present of my interactions with even the people that I fully trust. Because I'm terrified that I'm going to be taken advantage of again. No matter who. That fear, that paranoia, that thought of what if it happens again is stuck to me forever. So while I partially blame myself for not being able to set that boundary, that I did not want any of those romantic interactions, I could not help myself. So I don't know what to tell you. It just amazes me that, again, like, those two were able to forgive each other, not entirely, but to the point where they are making content with each other again, to the point where they are now going to conventions together again, to the point where they're even going to be headlining on fucking MomoCon, or will be in the Nerdcore party concerts, without any consequences. And I'm supposed to sit here for 6 fucking years thinking that this is okay. 6 years of nothing but lies thrown by those two people that I thought I could trust. I'm supposed to believe that they have suddenly forgiven and forgotten everything, acted like none of that shit happened. But yet, I cannot get my closure. I cannot be told, I'm sorry for drawing pornography of you and I because I had a thing for you and I did not give you fucking permission. You did not give me permission to make that drawing of the two of us. I cannot get that. And I cannot get closure from Robin as to why I cannot get answers to why I have been villainized, to suddenly believing someone that I used to have a relationship with who would slander my name in messages, saying that I was abusive, saying that I would use my heritage, my ethnicity, as a fucking weapon for random arguments that occur, for saying that I'm the one that would be throwing random buzzwords just to gain traction, to feel like I cannot lose in confrontations. And let me tell you, the way that the fact that what they should have elaborated on the fact that I quote unquote weaponized my ethnicity as a defense mechanism or to make my points. I was talking about the fact that people were doing fucking brownface cosplaying from Encanto, a fucking Colombian Disney movie where there is a whole diverse range from pale to black Colombians. And I was calling out people left and right who were changing their own pigmentation, their own skin color to match these dark Colombian characters, while they themselves are as white as the palm of my hand. And I get told by my past significant other who is a white person that cosplay is for everybody. That why should it matter if a person of another race be cosplaying a person that is darker than them, that has different hair texture than them? Because representation fucking matters. For decades. And now, black cosplayers, people of color, have been expressing and stressing about representation within the community that we're supposed to feel safe on. We are being harassed and told such vile fucking things for dressing up as a fucking character that we feel comfortable to cosplay as. People will fucking attack a random black cosplayer for cosplaying, Makoto Naegi, Junko fucking Enoshima, Hinata from fucking Naruto. And they'll go on to say shit like, oh, you need to cosplay your own people. Hey, you're just a black version of this character. Oh, you're just a darker version of this character. This and that. Oh, this character would never have this kind of hair. Wow, you would commit crimes. This and that. Like, all this fucking bullshit. They'll be like, oh, cosplay from your own fucking media. And then we have a black cosplayer cosplaying a black character because white people like to fucking complain about this shit. And they're still mad. They're still fucking mad. Just because they exist. But then suddenly we got this fucking random motherfuckers from like Moscow or Minnesota with, pale as fucking paper. Painting their fucking faces brown to black. Using random shit as fucking locks. There is historical reason as to why people of my culture, why people in black culture, why hair matters, why skin and pigmentation matters, why the way we talk, the way we act, the way we sing, the way we dance, the way we perform, the way we just take a fucking breath of air in our lungs is important to us. And you vile, disgusting, white tent, pitchfork, walking pieces of shit want to villainize people for just existing. That is bullshit. And for your European ass to fucking say that I am weaponizing my fucking Puerto Rican culture for speaking out against this fucking American, for talking about, how he wants to darken his fucking skin to cosplay Bruno, who is a dark-skinned Colombian. How me calling out these fucking people for actively being racist is drama. No. Hell no. Drama is when little fucking Timmy takes 2 pieces of Oreos from Jennifer. And Jennifer's like, hey, Timmy stole my 2 cookies. And Timmy's like, nah, those are my cookies. And then those 2 will fight about over the fucking cookies. That's drama. Drama is also a high school class or a popular girl and another popular girl will be talking shit about each other, talking about, oh, how, you know, you're a slut and this is my man, so you'll never get this man's, or saying how their hair is ugly and that they're fat and this and that. Just straight up like dogging on each other. That's drama. Drama is not racism. Racism is not drama. Homophobia is not drama. Xenophobia is not drama. I did not spend fucking years since I stepped in the American soil being called a fucking beaner by white people. I did not spend time fighting for my fucking life having these random ass people telling me that I will get deported by ICE, saying that I should go back to my fucking country, or that they hope that my island of trash fucking sink under the ocean. I did not spend 26 years of my fucking life fighting to that shit, only to be told by the one person that I thought I trusted to, being told that it's just drama. You have no idea what the fuck I've been through. The fact that I have been struggling to learn 2 languages just to accommodate in both soils. Because it doesn't help with the fact that my own fucking home is being gentrified to this day. Treated like Hawaii. Threatened to become a state like Hawaii. And yes, this is in relation to the fucking topic, because at the end of the day, racism is connected to this shit. Because KittenSneeze has done a lot of racist shit and has defended a lot of people that have done racist shit, even still having connections with them to this day. And I'm supposed to be okay with that? The other black content creators are supposed to be okay with that? Why? Why should we have to accommodate for the white agenda when they cannot even look at any of us without disgust? It's all full circle. Whether it's a direct or an associate connection with KittenSneeze and Jake. At the end of the day, those two are toxic to each other. They are toxic to their own community. Now, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be talking about this, because I'm going to be looping, and I feel like I'm looping in some points. Well, that's because emotions are at a high, even after taking time for myself to think about what I need to say, think about what I should or shouldn't say. But I cannot filter genuine emotion. I cannot pick and choose what I felt. I cannot pick and choose what I went through. For people that were not there to witness my experience, KittenSneeze's experience, Jake's experience, everyone else that were directly or associated in those experiences, don't get it twisted. I, like I have said, through and through, I do not care whether you believe me or not, because the truth be told, only myself and those two know what we've gone through together, whether it's in a friendly or a hostile manner. The amount of times that I have wanted to speak out about this is beyond the amount of fingers that I have. I have wanted to talk about KittenSneeze since I dropped her off. Since I ghosted her. Now, I will hold myself to it because I should have directly cut her off. But when it comes to the fact that she has used her platform before to attack people because of a fucking disagreement, even something as stupid, as ridiculous even, as a fucking OC comparison. The fact that she has stooped low to that point, I was afraid that I was next. And my platform was not that big at the time, you know. I'm still relatively small. But that does not determine the value of what I have gone through, of what I have seen, what I have heard, and what I've been told. It does not lessen the experience that I've had with those two, be it positive or negative. It does not downplay anything in general. This is up to you whether you want to believe this information or not. Take it all with a grain of salt. Whatever seasoning you want to use, even. Fuck it. Use adobo, even. Make me happy with that. My personal advice to you folks, when it comes to being in indie projects, be it a game or a show or even like a video, do your background research. I shit you not. Do your background research. Look up this person on whatever platform you have available. Spare yourself the trouble. Save yourself from the stress to induce of finding out stuff that happened that were buried, that were not addressed. And because not only is this critical with both KittenSneeze and Jake, I'm going to go a little bit off topic now that I've covered a majority of what I could cover. This is also especially with fangins. Fucking do your background check on that, especially, man. Because there shouldn't be no reason that there should be a common theme of people being weird with teenagers. Or just having done, like, bigoted actions and did not even bother to educate themselves or grow up through it. Hell, not even faggots. Everything in general. No matter what you fucking do, just do your background research. Because nowadays, all this kind of shit is just a fucking game to everybody. It's vile as fuck. The whole thing with KittenSneeze and Jake, it's a fucking game to people. That was survival that I've gone through. It was survival for those two, for whoever else were directly affected by either or. I've said this not even maybe 5-10 minutes ago, but racism is not drama. Xenophobia is not drama. Rape is not drama. Pedophilia is not drama. So stop fucking treating it like such. Those are very sensitive and serious topics, and they should not be treated lightly. It cannot be support all victims until the victim suddenly speaks. Why would people switch up suddenly? It's not how it works. You know, because I guess what the fair point of it being is that, anyone can make up anything nowadays, especially in, the internet growing, especially with AI becoming more frequent for stupid fucking reasons, to where people can make someone say some shit that they have never said at all in the first place. So I don't blame people for not believing, some stuff first thing. And I don't blame anybody for not believing me for what I have to say about these two. Because how would you know? Besides the documentary that I have posted onto my description, how would you know that I'm telling the truth? How would you know that I'm lying? Because with the other half of the stuff that I have said, whether they are listed or not onto the documentary that I have made, whether or not there are screenshots of the things that have been said and done, I understand if you think I'm telling the truth or not. Because as I say again, the only people that really know were the people that were directly involved. So, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take time to myself. I'm going to take time to process the fact that I finally got this off of my shoulders. I don't expect any sympathies. I just don't expect anything from anybody. But I'm just very grateful for the people that were there for me when everything went down. When I thought I was alone. When I thought that I had nobody to turn to. That's something I can't let go. Whether you've just been hearing about it now, whether I briefly talked about it and you've heard about it, or whether you're even there to see it all for yourself. I'm just very grateful to be reminded that I still have the people that I love, the people that I appreciate, still be there for me after all this time. To help me find my encouragement to speak about some things that were just not easy to talk about at all whatsoever. Because I'm just tired of being afraid. I'm tired of fearing of consequences, of the what ifs. I'm tired of having doubt take over me because of things that I went through. And that I am expected to be quiet about it. And I don't want to be quiet. I'm fucking Puerto Rican. I have to be loud. Yeah, I mean, shit. As we always say, yo soy boricua, pa que tú lo sepa. You know, what of it? I'm just, you know, it was a lot of time to think about this. It was a lot of time to really look for what I can't say. It was a lot of time to come to acceptance that the people that I thought would be better, um, that they won't. And it's a sad truth. Not everyone is capable of change. Not everyone is not everyone has the ability to hold themselves accountable for things that they should be holding themselves accountable for. Um, but that's just that's just what happens when you get put into situations that you are uncomfortable with and you couldn't find the exit. Um, there were some things as well that I very likely have not mentioned um, throughout this talk. The reason for that is because some of the experiences that I have talked about did not directly have myself involved, but I was associated with individuals that were involved directly by at least one of them. Um, so they're there for you guys to read. I know it's not much. It's only 17 pages. Have some of the pages taking up to be screenshots. But it's something. And to me, I think something is better than nothing. Whether that was to vaguely post about it, make a whole burner account, and pretend that I'm some anonymous person until I eventually get found out by people, um, or even just come out directly with my own name. And I think the latter is the best option. Because why would I bother hiding if people are gonna pull me out of the dark? But that being said, for the whatever lost counted amount of time that I've said, take this as you will. Do whatever you want with this information. If me speaking up about my experiences with these two big content creators would get me in trouble and quote unquote blacklist me from growing into a content creator, so be it. Whether people are with me or against me, I'm gonna do my own thing. And my final message, as I have stated in my documentary on the very last page, is if you believe you are a better person now compared to then, you would hold yourself accountable for everything you have done, even if it's the worst action, even if it's the worst word. You will not forget it until your time passes. If you choose to forget it, someone else will make you remember it. People will know the truth. People will find the truth. People will discover things one way or another. And if there are questions for me of things that I have not covered or things that may seem questionable, I will be real to the best of my ability. Even if it's something that I have said and done that are not ethical, I will answer to it. Because the difference is, I'm not afraid to be responsible if I've done something bad. There's two words that should be living on everyone's heads, and that's do better. If you hear the cat meowing in the background, I apologize. um, Fat shot of his son just doing his thing. But just do better. If you have a big platform, set an example. But just do better. But thank you for your time, for listening to this talk. Thank you for hearing out my personal experiences that pretty much nobody but myself knows. I don't know when will be the next time that I'm live streaming, but know for sure this will be the last time I talk about this. And I will go back to my more regular schedule. We will live on with our heads up, with a big smile on our face, and do better. Thank you for your time. Just keep on flowing.